So I won't be stepping out of the tread cold-wise too much. When you go back and look at the moves, you see a lot of these things all over the place. Should have worked out well. You take a pass on back as he dies. He's just dead. Lost. You take a powder on Brower, he dies. You take a powder and you trade Shattuck, he just dies on the Rangers. Blows up his knee and just dies. Stastny, you take a powder on that. Against all odds, you just start. So you dodge, you make these things. So Riley don't need your best player. Yeah, those guys all started pretty well, and then of course now the whole thing. Now you can say probably the things you go back and just keep up. Yeah, find money there. Oh, you just against all odds, you got to look at just a dead man on skates. There's all these things that seem like they're setting themselves up for on paper. Whole on paper thing, you look up and you know, Montreal's buzzing around. That's the first one. All the teams would have said there was the worst teams in the league. They're flying around and things happen. It all get your ass right. How do you get these guys back in the situation? 1 minute, guys.
Go around.
Okay, well, ready to start out. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on such short notice. No worries. The first round's on Bernie tonight for having the phone go off. No, it's obviously an uncomfortable day for myself and the organization. A difficult decision was made last night to relieve Mike Yeo of his head coaching duties. You never make these decisions in a vacuum or quickly, and it was just something that I felt and shared with ownership that it was time to make a change to see what we can accomplish for this season. With that being said, I'm excited to work with Craig. Craig's career speaks for itself as a player. He's put his time in as a NHL head coach before. He's worked in our organization with some of our younger players. He's in tune with today's game. He's in tune with today's athlete, and I'm excited to work with him on an interim basis, you know, and I thank him for being a total team player and grabbing the rope when I asked him last night in a very uncomfortable time for him and the organization. So, Craig, thank you for that, and I look forward to working with you. I think the easiest way for today to move is I'll let Craig say a few words. You can ask him some questions. He has a day job he has to get to here, practice, so I'll let him after go to practice, then I'll answer any other questions you may have on anything related to St. Louis Blue.
It's a difficult time for sure. Mike's a good friend of mine, and loved working with him, coaching with him, so it's tough. But we got to move forward here, and we got to get better, and that's the plan. So.
Craig, how do you get better?
We're working on that. You know, we got ideas. We're working on it right now. So we got to definitely got to instill some confidence back in this hockey team. It's a good hockey team. We got good players, and we got to get moving in the right direction.
Craig, you've been in that locker room with the players. Why do you feel like up to this point nothing's been able to gel, nothing's worked so far?
Well, I don't think it's nothing's worked or nothing's gelled. It's inconsistent. You know, I think there's been times where it's looked really good, and we don't get that on a consistent basis. So that's definitely something we got to, figure out.
Craig, you look at this team needing massive adjustments, changes. I mean, how do you look at it in terms of taking a hold of things moving forward?
Again, I don't think it's nothing massive. It's tweaks here and there, and again, I'll bring it up again. We got to instill confidence back in this hockey team.
And how do you do that, Craig?
Well, it demands. We're going to demand. We're going to be a demanding coaching group, and it starts in practice.
I know that Hitch had an effect on you and your coaching career. How did Hitch affect your coaching career?
Well, I just think I've been being around Hitch, playing for him, in junior and pro, and then coaching with him, alongside him, around him, and just he's a very successful coach, obviously, and you just listen and learn.
I know that every coach says, hey, you have to be yourself, but is there anything that you've taken from his game that you've applied to yours?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hitch was a demanding coach, and I think that I try to follow in the same lines. I'm demanding, but I'm fair, and But my door is always open to players to come and communicate. I communicate well with players, and that's the kind of stuff that I learned from Hitch.
Craig, can you describe your strategy towards getting accountability out of all the players?
Well, I don't know if there's a strategy to it. It's just holding players accountable. It starts in practice again. It's being ready to practice and practicing hard and doing things right in practice and demanding it in practice, and it carries over to the game.
Craig, how much potential do you think this team has? I mean, do you think it has potential to get back into a
It's a good hockey team.
Craig, you talked about getting their confidence back. I mean, this is a good team at the start of the season, but it didn't seem to have that type of confidence that you'd expect. Why don't you think it was there?
Well, I'm not sure it wasn't there in the beginning of the season. I think that early on in the season, we played some pretty good hockey and ended up losing on the losing side of things. And that wears on players a lot of times. And it can go the other way then, right? So we just got to get that confidence back build them back up. And again, it starts in practice. It starts with demands. And that's where we got to go. That's what we got to do.
Craig, last 4 or 5 games have been tough scoring. Any immediate tweaks you see or want to implement to try to get that going here?
Yeah, we're talking about that again. It's quick here, so we're working on that and talking with the coaching staff about some things.
Do you think to kind of get and the defense has been pretty good lately, did you have to maybe give up some stuff offensively that you were trying to do to get the defense back? Was there a little bit of trade-off there?
There is some trade-off to that for sure, but I thought early on in the season that we were way too loose as a team, and we had to tighten up, which we did. But from the offensive side of things, we've got to score some goals, and we're talking about some things that we can do better.
Everybody in their second go-round learned something from their first. What makes you a different coach now than the head coach that was in Philadelphia?
I'm obviously older and been around more, and work with some different people, and along the way you just learn new things, and the game's changing, and you change with it. And I think that's the biggest thing. There's not one thing I can point out to that makes me a better coach today. It's just learning along the way.
Let's let Craig go, and then he's going to be available after practice, too.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, I'll make a couple more statements. I want to thank Mike Yeo for his time with the Blues. Guy got to know Mike and his family well, and that's the difficult part of this. You start out as co-workers, then you become friends, and then you have to go back to co-workers. And that was the talk I had with him last night, telling him that we had to make a change. My experiences being where he was sitting, as soon as you hear that information, your mind starts to move quickly. I got to talk to my wife, I got to talk to my kids, and so Mike and I have plans to get with Mike later in the next week or two to go over and thank him personally and reassure him that he's paying for the sins of myself and the entire organization, and it's very unfortunate. Also, Larry Robinson is going to jump in on Craig's staff for the next foreseeable future, meaning probably 3 weeks to a month. I'm excited about Steve Ott and Mike Van Ryan, but they're very young and inexperienced with as far as being on NHL staff. I think having Larry come in to give Craig someone to talk to that been there, done that, is going to be good for him. And in that process, Craig and I will talk about maybe some people that potentially can come in and work with him until we decide which way we're going to go as far as the head coach, the permanent head coach. I think those are the 2 or 3 things I really wanted to say, and it's probably easy to open up to questions you may have now. So, and if you don't have any, I'm good too.
Why don't you think it worked?
Ultimately it comes back to our record. I thought when he came in, he was able to gel the team, and we went on a nice run. We won a playoff round. We had a good feeling about ourselves. That carried over into the first 25 games of the next season. We were a top 3 or 4 team in the league, feeling good about ourselves. Everything was going well. Then we hit a rut in December, January, and quite honestly, we haven't got out of it. If you look at our record since December 1st of 17, we're about a 500 hockey team, and that's not good enough in today's NHL. And as I said, Mike is paying for sins of a collective group. It's not all on Mike, but ultimately, as the head coach, you're responsible to get the team to play at a level. I thought we made some changes this summer that would put us in a different spot than we are at this time. We haven't had consistent play from our top players. That goes without saying. And the NHL is a top player league. If your top players are playing at their best on a consistent basis, you usually have success. And we've had ebbs and flows from our core group of players that has had an effect. I think you just look at the plus minus of our core group of players, and that'll give you an indication that we're not playing well enough 5-on-5. And early in the season, when you look at our goal scoring was near the top of the league. A lot of it was power play driven, but our 5-on-5 play wasn't good enough. And when the power play dries up, you still have to be able to produce, and we haven't been able to do that. One of the areas I think of concern is that over the last 5 or 6 games, we don't play competitively enough to draw penalties. You get 1 or 2, 0. That's not an indication on the NHL putting their whistles away. That's the indication of us not going into the areas to make other teams defend us illegally. That's how I'm not really sure. That took that a different direction. But
Harvey said that Mike is paying for the sins of you in the organization. What are the sins that you've committed?
We're not good enough. As a general manager, the wins and losses fall on hockey operations, and as the president of hockey operations and the general manager of the team, there's things that need to be addressed, and we've stayed patient with a core group of players, and that patience now is at its thinnest point.
Doug, you said when you fired Hitch and brought in Mike that these players will be held accountable. I'm not firing another coach, yet here we are today. Have those players been held accountable?
That's why I hate having these press conferences. You guys got good memories. Yeah, everything you've said is correct. I don't remember saying that, but if I did, I did. And as I said, the core group's equity built up is gone. That's what I have to say. And I guess I could say it again, that the next permanent head coach, if we're having this conversation, there'll be core players gone. But I guess if I've said that once, I wouldn't believe it either. But I truly believe at this time is that we transferred into a different group. That group isn't 3 people. That group's 8 or 9 people, in my opinion. And they have to get us out of this. That's, again, I spend time with Mike. I spend time with Dave Taylor. Al McGinnis, people that I really trust, and the message of the game plan that Mike shared with us sounded appropriate, sounded it fit our style of play, sounded it fit like our personnel, but we didn't see it on a consistent basis. And as I said, ultimately the head coach is responsible for that, but I think it goes much deeper than that, and we need our best players to be our best players on a much more consistent basis.
How would you describe Craig's job security moving forward? I mean, if they play well, does he have a legitimate chance to become the permanent head coach?
Yeah, I would say the coaching, the interim tag is based on a decision made last night. He did a very good job with our American Hockey League affiliate. He's got experience. He's going to be given that opportunity. But as a manager, you have to multitask. I'm going to throw my full support behind Craig and his staff right now as we try and cauterize the wound and get back into the playoff picture. By doing that, though, we're going to start the process of putting a list together of head coaches. There's going to be experienced head coaches on that list. There's going to be European head coaches on that list. There's going to be college head coaches on that list, major, junior head. We're not going to minimize or limit the scope that we're going to look at, but it's not something that's going to be done over the next day or two. This is going to be a process that we're going to look hard and be thorough on, and doing that, we're going to support Craig and his staff, and you would love to have a situation where enough is enough for our core group, and they take charge of this team, and Craig is at the helm of that, and we have great success, and we move forward together.
Do you see any scenario where you would hire a permanent coach in season before the season's over? Is that possible?
It's possible. I'm not sure if it's probable, but it's possible. As I said, we're going to have to multitask, and it's not probably something that people are going to want to hear, but after this press conference is over, that's the last time we're going to be talking about the permanent head coach until he's sitting beside here, up here announcing him. It's not something that we're going to give updates on how the search is going or where you're at in the process. It's unfair to the team. This team's job is to win hockey games, and my job is to support this team.
You talk about the timing of the change. Was it something you considered in last night? You saw something in the game and thought, that's it, I got it?
Yeah, I think you want to be supportive of the group. Early in the year, we were scoring goals but not defending well. Now we're defending well and not scoring. It wasn't something you want to make a knee-jerk reaction on. The last homestand was big for us. We had an opportunity to go 5-2. We walk out of that 4-3, but you say as a manager, all right, one more, and then we obviously been shut out 3 of the last 4 games and lost 4 of the last 5, and at some point you have to make the decision you don't want to make, and that was last night.
In your sport, more than the other 3 pro sports, captaincy and leadership, the captain position is more important, it seems. Can you describe what you've gotten out of your captain and leader?
Yeah, I would say that I would think that is not the case as much as it maybe was in the past. I think that our sport has gone to leadership groups, and we're not at the forefront of it, but we're in with the masses. I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, a top team. They've got top end players, former captains. They've decided to go with all A's, and I'm certainly not going to remove letters from this group. But ultimately, it's not a one-man show. Maybe if you have a Mark Messier, maybe if you had a generational leader, and that's nothing against Petro, but maybe one guy can corral the whole group. I just don't think that's the reality of today's sport. There's so much change in staffing, player staffing, that I think you need a pack mentality of leadership, and that goes more to a core group than just one or 3 individuals. I think our leadership group is much deeper than just the 3 guys, and they should be all held accountable as those 3 guys are.
Yeah, how would you grade the leadership group thus far this season?
Well, obviously below average.
Army, understanding everything that you just said about making the decision, waiting through the homestand, seeing if it would get better, how did you weigh the decision of perhaps waiting too long to make it, not giving yourself enough season left?
Yeah, I think that's the balancing act, and that's the, you know, I obviously I feel we can make the playoffs. I feel that doing it today gives us that opportunity. I was hoping that we would have responded with a win last night, and then carried that into to playing Nashville and grabbing that one, coming home, grabbing a couple of home wins, and then we're up and running. It didn't happen that way. We made the change, and I think one of the things that is concerning is our home record. And I go back to what got my attention for our group was the last 2 home games last year, when we had put ourselves in a position to solidify a playoff spot, and we lost to a Chicago team that really wasn't playing for much. We lost to a Washington team that had just clinched everything they could clinch the night before in Pittsburgh and was tired. And then it flowed into this year. Our home record isn't nearly something that we can accept. You know, the natural thing as a St. Louisan is that it's a blue collar town, and we have a good corporate base, but a lot of our fans are workers, and they, you know, it's not, you know, it takes a commitment to come to a Blues game, and we need to send them home happier than we're sending them home, and with a greater effort. I watched the Edmonton-Calgary game the other night, a divisional game, the Battle of Alberta, the raw emotion that was in that, and then I see us play Chicago, and I don't see that same raw emotion, and it's concerning, and we need to make this a much more difficult place to play in, and that starts with our core group demanding it of each other.
I mean, when you have to let go of a coach, what's that discussion like with ownership, and when you're talking with John Still in these days, how's he feeling about where you guys are at right now in this decision?
Yeah, how's he feeling? He's angry. Not angry not angry at any one individual. He's angry. He's a fan. Like I talk about the blue collar people that come to our game. You know, he might be white collar, but he's a blue collar fan, and he loves the game, and he gets angry when we don't play well, and it's a good anger. It's not venting. So he's disappointed where we're at. We walk through the process of where we're at. We talk on a daily or every other day basis, so it's not something that I hadn't talked to him since training camp, and I called him at the second period last night, you know. So, but he's disappointed. He's supportive of what we want to do. He also believes that Mike is paying for sins that aren't just his own, and he's obviously said, if this group isn't the right group, I need you to do your job.
There's a lot of talk in this town about free agency in reference to baseball players. There's a free agency in regards to available coaches right now in your sport. Can you talk about the intensity towards a particular available free agent?
Well, anyone that's not working is probably free, but yeah, our net is wide. There's experienced coaches, not just probably the one that you're referring to, but there's some other ones that have had a lot of success that we're going to put on our to-do list, and go through the proper channels to make contact. And again, this isn't just any one individual. This is a group. This is going to be a group of coaches that we're gonna see if they fit, if we fit their criteria, and if they fit our criteria.
Do you have interest in Joel Quinn?
I'm not going to talk about any one individual.
Army, I want to go back to the core group, and we all talk about the levels, but are you comfortable with that core group's ability to hold the 24 guys accountable, somebody within that group in the room?
Well, I would say that the equity of comfort, or the equity has evaporated now. It's no longer relevant what I feel, it's what they do.
Army, do you like the experience and youth balance that we have on to younger players and giving them more opportunities? How do you see that playing out?
Well, at the end of the day, it's a winning business, and Craig has to put on the players that he believes are going to give us the best opportunity to win. I think what you don't want to do is play players for what they've done in the past. You have to play players for what they're doing today, and but that's his responsibility. He has to feel his way through that process and decide which ones warrant the ice time and which ones don't. But it's a changing game, and I look at our group in three categories. You have your inexperienced player, your core group, and your veteran players. I think the core players have to be able to pull the inexperienced players around, and the inexperienced players are Zach Sanford, our Barbashev, our Robbie Fabry because of lack of play, Robert Thomas. These guys need someone to lead them, and that comes from the core group. And the vets have earned the right to support the core group. They don't have to be at the front demanding. They're going to support that core group. And so it comes down to 7 or 8 guys of making sure that the young guys are held accountable and doing what's proper, that the veteran players can just come out and play their games. They've done their work, the veteran players.
You described kind of this season as a referendum on that core group. What's that timeline like? Is it the rest of the season, or do you feel that is there a window there before you start trying to make changes?
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of discussions prior to today on trying to improve our team, and that will continue. I don't think there's a drop dead date that if there'll be 7 guys gone if something doesn't happen by date X. It's just something that we need to continue to improve on, and players have decisions to make over the next few years, and we have decisions to make over the next few years.
How frustrating is it for you to hear players after pretty much every loss say, we got outworked?
Yeah, that is frustrating. That's something that you would think is a non-negotiable trait, not for a coach. The coach never walks in and says, okay, guys, I don't really want you to compete that hard tonight. I think he just takes it for granted that they're going to be professional and come in and compete. So when they say that, they're talking about, when a player says that, he's talking about himself and his teammates. He's not talking about anything the coach did. It's disappointing. To answer it's very disappointing when work ethic is something that they question about themselves.
Doug,
The
what's your thoughts on
expectations were so high for this team. How do you think maybe the players and Mike didn't handle it well, especially after you had some early setbacks, early losses?
Yeah, I think that we probably are an emotional group. I think our highs are high and our lows are low, and our consistency varies. I try and come up with different analogies, most of them stupid, but I said to Mike, we got to get to the top of Everest, but we can only go down to base camp 3. We can't always go down to ground level 0 and walk our way up. And that's what our team does, where our highs are good. When we play Toronto, we play very well, and it looks really good. Then we play Winnipeg, and it looks very good for 2 periods. And then it totally evaporates. And the good teams' highs are highs, but the really good teams, the really good players, lows are high, if that makes any sense. Again, it does in my convoluted mind. I might not be sharing it correctly, but I just think that we have to find a much more consistent secondary game than we have right now.
What's your thoughts on Jake Allen, how he's played? What have you seen from Jake?
I would say I thought Jake started out playing well this year, but the record and the statistics that goaltenders are measured by were not good. The save percentage, the goals against, but we could have had Marty in his prime or Patrick Waugh. Those stats were going to be the same. When you're giving up 3-on-1s and second chances, and there's no the front of our net is like a 7-Eleven. It's open all the time. No one's going to be able to withstand that. And then I think that started to play in his mind. It started to play in all our minds. And then But the last 4 or 5 games, you know, you look at his save percentages, goals against average, it's been good. So I think that's the type of people we need to support more. And, you know, Jake's going to have bad nights. We're all going to have bad nights. It's how quickly he or Johnson return to a good night, and how quickly we give them support to allow them to return to a good night.
You talked about the front of the net from the defensive end. Can you describe what you desire, want, deserve out of the players in the front of the net?
Yeah,
shooting it?
we have to go into the greasier areas to score goals. When you get shut out three times in 4 games, it's an indication when you don't get power plays and you don't score. It's the desire to play in the ugly and harder areas. I thought last night's game was a perfect example. We had probably 6 or 7 unbelievably grade A chances that the goaltender had to block, not stop. So the puck's lying there, and I don't think we got 1 second chance. So that means that we're a one and done offense. We're not going to go in and play in those greasy areas. We're not going to make somebody haul us down because we're around and we're pushing and prodding. And I don't really count at the end of games when that happens. The other team's playing not to get scored on, and you're throwing everything at the net. Or really the San Jose game, you're down 3-0 and you make your push. That's loser hockey. That's not an indication of how the game went. Well, we outchanced them in the third period and we outshot them. That's good if it's a tie game or you're up a goal or down by a goal. When you're down by 3, the other team quits trying to score, and there's really I don't put a lot of stock in that part of the game.
I know it's water under the bridge, you're looking ahead, but if you could just for a moment reflect on the coaching and waiting concept as you look back at it. Do you feel like it worked? Would you still do it again? How do you look back at it?
The concept I thought was valid. The coaching and waiting was done because we had a coach that told me he wanted to coach 1 more year. I think we were coming off of a successful season. We went to the semifinals. I was looking for a continuation coach that could continue what that group had built, 100-point seasons, you know, a good playoff run. I didn't really want to. I was hoping to have a good season, build off that, have a coach there that could continue building on what we did. That group didn't get it done. We had the coach that wanted to coach 1 more year ended up coaching half a year here, and we had to make that change. Mike came in, did a hell of a job, pushed us on. It made me feel that was the right decision because he was able to get a group that I believed in at that time, you know, to go on a long run, to win a playoff round, to come out, to have a successful 25 games the start of his next tenure. So it made sense at the time. It made sense for a portion of the work that was done. So I stand by the logic, but obviously, again, we're not in a spot where we want to be right now, and it reflects on Mike Yeo, but it shouldn't reflect solely on Mike Yeo, and it's not a referendum on his ability to coach. I think again he's paying for sins.
Is there any fear about fatigue with the players and the coach in general, depending on who the coach is? It seems like, you know, does any message get stale, and at what point is that more on the players than the coach?
Well, I mean, you look around other sports, it doesn't seem to affect the Patriots. It doesn't seem to affect the San Antonio Spurs. It affects us after a year. That's an indictment on us then, if that's the case.
Doug, I know you said you don't want to talk about individuals. Ken Hitchcock just took the job in Edmonton. Did you have a conversation with him at all in the last 24 hours about this position?
No, but Ken and I do talk quite a bit. I'm not surprised to hear that information if it's accurate. And I wish him nothing but the best, and he's a hell of a coach.
Hey, just to clarify, you said Larry's going to join the squad. Is that on the bench?
That's going to be up to just laughing, Penger. I can hardly see you back there, little buddy. I'd say stand up, but you are. Just kidding, pal. No, Craig and I are going to talk on the plane. That's up to Craig on how he wants to manage his staff. I'll have my opinions on it, like I did with other people I work with, but ultimately Craig's the head coach, and he's going to decide what makes his staff function the best. I'm just excited to have someone with Larry's experience around our group. All right, everyone, thank you very much, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Sorry, buddy.